A question came in recently concerning the iconographic forms of the deities Vajrapani, Achala, and Vajravidarana, and whether or not they're related in some way, are related, or completely independent. Well, this is complicated because Vajrapani has many different tantras, associated tantras, as does Achala, and even Vajravidarana can be found in several different iconographic forms, as well as peaceful, semi-peaceful, and wrathful. So I think to start sort of a discussion on this topic, we need to break it into smaller subjects, possibly. And I think to start with, we should take Achala and just look at the Chandamaharoshana Tantra and that form of the deity. Now, Chandamaharoshana is blue in color, one face, two arms. He's in a kneeling posture, generally with the right knee raised and the left knee pressed to the ground. And his consort, Mamaki, has her legs around his waist in this kind of kneeling posture. He can be either semi-peaceful, semi-wrathful in appearance, or sometimes he can be wrathful. I think it depends on the tradition and the painting school. And he's surrounded by flames, dark blue in color, and then he can be sometimes dark blue and she's lighter blue, or reversed. And this often is going to be based on the artist and the painting school. Very occasionally in the commentaries you can find descriptions of the hue of the color blue, such as you can in the Hevajra commentaries. But I've not seen any reference yet in any of those commentaries. Now, the Chandamaharoshana Tantra has the same basic figure of Achala, and Achala we find from the Maharoshana Abhisambodhi. He's mentioned there, but more importantly, I think we have him from the Siddha Aikavira Tantra in the first section, and that is how, in the Sakya tradition, Achala is sort of associated with Adapachana Manjushri, because the Siddha Aikavira Tantra is the main tantra for the Adapachana Manjushri teachings and different types of Adapachana, because there are a number of different types. Now, what is really kind of important here is there's no mention of Vajrapani, and definitely no mention of Vajravidarana in the Chandamaharoshana Tantra. And the interlocutor for the Tantra is actually Vajrasattva. And Vajrasattva takes on the form of this deity, Chandamaharoshana. And also in the Tantra itself, it says that this name, Chandamaharoshana, although it has many different meanings and it can be broken up in many different ways, syllable by syllable, but the general meaning of Chandamaharoshana means Achala in a 5-deity configuration, representing the 5 symbolic Buddhas. So that is what Chandamaharoshana is. The majority of the other Achala forms that we find in the Tantras are all solitary. But the Chandamaharoshana has the 5 main symbolic Buddha forms plus consorts. So it's actually a 10-deity mandala configuration, and possibly with doorkeepers, door guardians as well. Now, what's interesting about Chandamaharoshana is it's often said to be coming out of primarily Newar traditions, and that may be very well the case, and it was not translated into Tibetan until the very early, I think the early 14th century, so 1300, 1310, like that. But what I would like to point out is that one of the founders of Sakya, Lopan Sonam Semo, and he lived he lived in the 12th century. He lived in mid to later 12th century. Now, he wrote a long commentary on Achala, and his commentary on Achala really echoes a lot of the topics and subjects that you find in the Chandamaharoshana Tantra in terms of the rituals and the mantras. So whether or not the first translation of Chandamaharoshana was in fact by Trukpa Gyaltsen of Yarlung in the early 14th century, I don't know. I don't know really if that's completely true, or whether or not we have earlier forms of the Tantra and the information, because otherwise we have to question, where did Lopan Sonam Semo more than 100 years earlier, where did his information come from? Because the Siddha Aikavira commentaries did not have all of the information that Sonam Semo includes in his commentary. What's also interesting is when Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo wrote a commentary on the Siddha Aikavira Tantra, when he gets to the section on Achala, he refers the reader to the commentary by Lopan Sonam Semo and says that there is nothing more that he can add here that isn't already there. So I think what we have to do is we have to isolate Achala Chandra Maharoshana and say, no, there's no relationship at this time really with Vajrapani. Now, whether or not you want to say there might be shared mantras at a later date or at the same period of time, sure, that's possible. We do have deities that have shared mantras, but that doesn't mean that the deities are identical or the traditions are identical. No. So we can't over-conflate some of what we're seeing. We have to parse it and look at it a little bit differently and try and trace it back a little bit farther than maybe what has previously been done. We'll leave it there, but we're going to continue with this subject because it seems there's a number of people who are interested in it, and we do have really a lot of art that relates to these topics. So you can press the like button, you can subscribe, you can join HAR on Patreon, and you can make a donation to the homepage of Himalayan Art Resources.